sexuality, and birth. She was also worshipped as a mediator between God and man. We know somebody that does that, don't we?
Yes.
Yep.
Orgies and temple prostitutes were often used in her worship and in attempting to gain her favor.
Scott, the picture you had of her with, being depicted as Mary, is that why the Catholics worship Mary?
Absolutely.
And we'll see also
X-ray to the Mary,
Peter
throw a
or
Hail
Paul?
Mary, you know.
While you're on this subject, the more modern names is Aphrodite and Venus.
yes.
And when Paul's letter to the Corinthians would have got to the Corinthians, it was a very prosperous city, and they had a temple to Venus, and it had 1,000 prostitutes.
There's a modern song that has the name Aphrodite in it. It's called Dark Horse by Katy Perry.
Oh yeah.
She has the Egyptian and the Dark Horse type thing. I mean, when it if it comes on the radio, it's being turned off. I won't listen to
We
that.
only listen to, our Christian station does not leave off of a Christian station. We've got, 4 or 5 of them plugged in, and that's where our radio stays.
But I just find that interesting that she does that. And they have this supposed dark horse at Denver Airport with an Egyptian statue. Yeah, that's.
You mentioned that, and that just reminded me, and I've got it somewhere in here. One of my minister friends had made a comment this week. Do you know that in Times Square in April, they're going to have a reproduction of an arch that was at one of the temples of Baal?
I posted it on Facebook.
And the whole point of them doing it is to say, I think ISIS destroyed it from where it was originally from. But their whole point is saying we can rebuild whatever you destroy. Why, of all things, would you want to bring that over here and display it? And I think, and also in London Square will have the same thing.
Well, this Denver Airport, where they have this horse and this Egyptian statue, if you go from the sky, the whole airport looks like a swastika. Okay. And they have these strange paintings. It has a dead Jew. I think it's a child in it.
Yeah, and a coffin.
On the wall, it's a painting. And you just look up Denver Airport, and you'll see the different paintings. It's creepy. But also from the sky, it's a swastika. The airport itself.
The runways and everything, it makes perfect swastika.
Ouch.
Okay, but they done all this to gain, and attempting to gain her favor. I've never been Catholic, but when you pray with the rosary,
It was designed.
is that what you're doing?
They may claim not, but it was.
What was that there?
Okay.
Just look up Denver.
Hail Mary.
I'm not techie side.
In Jeremiah 7:16, we're going to find out for a couple of scriptures how God felt about this type of worship, because we've said earlier several times that before Jesus was ever crucified and resurrected, this festival, this celebration was taking place. Jeremiah 7:16, so you, Jeremiah, don't pray for this people. Don't cry, pray, intercede on their behalf with me, because I won't listen to you. Don't you see what they are doing in the cities of Yehuda and in the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather the wood, the fathers light the fire, and the women knead the dough to make cakes for who? The Queen of Heaven. Anybody ever heard of hot cross buns?
Oh, yeah.
That's the cakes he's talking about.
Wow.
Us in worship to her. And just to provoke me, they pour out drink offerings to other gods. Are they really provoking me, ask Adonai, or are they provoking themselves to their own ruin? Verse 20, therefore, here is what Adonai Elohim says, my anger and fury will be poured out on this place, on men, animals, trees in the fields, and produce growing from the ground, and it will burn without being quenched. Jeremiah 44:16.
God was certainly angry with them, wasn't
Yes, he was.
Here's a new meaning to the word hot cross buns.
he?
Right.
I didn't hear that.
As for the word you have just spoken to us, this is the people speaking to Jeremiah, in the name of Adonai, we will not listen to you. Now, does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yes.
Instead, we will certainly continue to fulfill every word of our mouths have spoken. We will offer incense to who? The Queen of Heaven, and pour out drink offerings to her as we have done. We and our ancestors, our kings and our leaders in the cities of Yehuda and the streets of Jerusalem, for then we had plenty of food. Everything was fine. We did not experience anything unpleasant. But since we stopped offering to the Queen of Heaven and pouring out drink offerings to her, we have lacked everything. And I guess I cut that verse off.
Where you at, verse what?
Verse 18.
18, but from the time we ceased to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and to offer her drink offerings, we have lacked everything, and through sword and famine we have met our end.
Verse 19. Then the wives added, are we the ones who offer incense to the Queen of Heaven? Do we pour out offerings to her? And do we make cakes marked with her image for her and pour out drink offerings to her without our husband's consent? So they're saying, did we do it and our husbands did not know it? Okay, it says, and did we make cakes marked with her image? Here's your little cake. That's your image that was on the cake that they made. Because what she did, after Tammuz was killed, they take ashes, they would take the ashes, and they would form a cross over their heart.
Hmm.
Seems there's a religion kind of does that.
Yeah, I think it's on a Wednesday.
But they put them on their forehead.
After Carnival, or on Tuesday.
It's Ash Wednesday.
Verse 20, then Yermahu said to all the people, to the men, to the women, all the people who've answered him back, the incense you have offered in the cities of Yehuda, in the streets of Jerusalem, you, your ancestors, your kings, your leaders, and the people of the land, Adonai kept remembering and taking note of this insult. If we look back here, it says you did it, your ancestors did it, your kings did it, your leaders did it, and you people of the land did it. So what did this become?
Tradition.
Tradition. And their leaders led them into it. Their kings said it's okay. Keep doing it. No big deal. And God says, I'm remembering. I'm keeping track of this insult. Here's one of the things I said the last few weeks about Easter. You want to celebrate the resurrection on this Easter Sunday. You go to your wife and you tell your wife, I know that we got married August 1st. August 1st rolls around, you don't acknowledge that you were married her on August 1st. You want to observe your anniversary October the 18th. So even though you were married August 1st, you're going to say, we're going to do this on October the 18th. How would that make a person feel? Better yet, my daughter's birthday was today, but if I told her instead of us saying today's your birthday, what about we say June 25th is your birthday? So you're getting nothing until June 25th. That will hurt just a little bit.
Hmm.
if you done that year after